Welcome to Business Prowess with Rafael and Dr. Andrea. Our show will bring you the best insights, ideas, and inspiration from successful entrepreneurs and CEOs in the business world. Don't miss out on the opportunity to learn from the best and stay ahead of the game. Sifu Rafael is the founder of 5 Unique Shows. He's a fitness professional, solutions expert, executive coach, and head instructor at Max Martial Arts and Fitness in New York. Dr. Andrea Adams Miller is an award-winning international keynote speaker, best-selling author, and CEO of the Red Carpet Connection Publicity, Publishing, and Talent Agency, and CEO of IgniteYourRelationship.com. Known as the Dream Maker, she makes visionaries' dreams come true, bigger than they ever dare to desire.
Good morning, Nikki. How are you today? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. I'm excellent. How are you doing, Sifu?
I am exceptional and getting better every day. I am. This has been a great week. We were on the Seer show together. You're filling in for Dr. Andrea. I got to tell you, the more I see you, the more I feel connected to you. So thank you for
You're
we
welcome.
have a great
Thank
show
you.
today.
We do.
Yeah.
I'm excited. We got to speak a few minutes before the show. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. So we have, let's go ahead and bring them in, Lama and Andrea. Andrea may be having a little bit of difficulty with her camera, but she'll be right with us. Lama, good afternoon. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, my friend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So today we're talking about unlocking inner energy. And as a Qigong master yourself, you understand that we all have this incredible energy inside of us, but so many of us don't know how to use it. Talk to us about that.
We are energy beings having human experience. The way that I look at it is that we are living in this big dream called daily life. If we apply the same ideas of how we can become lucid in our dreams at night, we can actually translate that lucidity into our daily lives. That's what we call spiritual awakening or enlightenment, if you will. And this is exactly what I teach and practice. I'm a Tibetan Lama and Qigong master, and the founder of Academy of Qi Dao and the creator of Qigong coaching profession. Essentially, I teach and practice how to use the energy awareness to transform your life for the better, how to become more enlightened. And enlightenment, in my understanding, is not a destination at the end of the long journey. It's the journey itself, the journey of enlightenment, where each and every step can become an enlightening experience. And when you awaken to the dreamlike nature of our daily lives, you realize, just like in dreams, where everything is energy, the energy of consciousness, what else is it going to be made of? Just like that, in our daily lives, everything is also energy. As a matter of fact, everyone who graduated from high school knows, at least theoretically, that, yeah, everything is energy. Duh. But how many of us actually live this way in our daily lives? How many of us actually use energy awareness to, for example, make decisions? The most basic thing that we do almost every moment of our lives, decision making. How much do we use energy awareness that would inform our decisions so that they would be more intelligent?
Yeah,
if we develop the ability to make more intelligent decisions, we'll be living more intelligent lives, right?
Yeah,
and who wouldn't want
definitely.
that?
I'm trying to reach Andrea, see if she can come back on with us.
Well, while you're doing that, I will just keep on chatting.
No, we're gonna ask questions. So
Please go
here's
ahead.
the thing, right? When we think about energy, when we think about us as a human being, and you said that we all have this energy, right? And I agree
We
with
are
that.
energy. We don't just have energy somewhere, maybe
And I know
somewhere
Nikki,
we
I
have some
know
energy.
I know Nikki
Agree.
also agrees. So if if you can give us a second, and then we'll get back to you for a sec. Nikki is somebody who definitely taps into energy in order to do what she does. So, Nikki, would you mind for a minute telling us what you do? Because this is the Business Prowess Show, and everything business revolves around people. People revolve around energy. So, Nikki, you help people with focusing on a deeper level. Would you mind telling us a little bit?
Sure. Thank you, Sifu. So I call myself a personal trainer for your mind, and I use various modalities like hypnotherapy and NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, to help people change those subconscious patterns and programs that run in the background of our mind. We were talking with Andrea before the show, and she has matched over 33,000 couples, and we were talking about how some of those old patterns and programs can cause us self-sabotage. So we want something like to find a partner, and then on the inside, we're working against that. So that's how I help people to align what is on the inside, how they see themselves, their self-image, their values, with the goals that they have so that they can achieve them in this lifetime.
Yes, absolutely. So when we think about, and you talked about this lifetime, right? Because some people talk about that, and I don't want to get controversial here, but that they've lived other lives. For example, my son, who's 24 years old, when he was a baby, not only did I see it, but so many people who held him, they're like, he's an old soul. He's an old soul. So um, do we keep coming back and back and until we finalize something in our lives with that type of energy? That's a question for both of you.
Lama, you want to take it first?
As I was just mentioning a minute ago, I perceive this entire life as a dream. Well, what are past lives? Well, they're just another dream that we remember. Some elements of the dream are easier to remember than others, but essentially, we remember some dreams that perhaps were not directly connected to our current experience of what we consider our daily life, and that's okay. It's a variety that is the spice of life. So essentially, what we do is we learn how to develop with a variety of experiences that makes our lives richer and also gives us access to a greater variety of energy resources, because the more resources you tap into, the more resourceful you become. And who wouldn't want that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the questions that I get asked a lot is, how do I enhance my energy? How do I tap into that energy that I see so many other people have? They look vibrant and so forth, but meanwhile, I lack it. How do I tap into that?
Are you
Well,
asking me?
so
Nikki, maybe you can tell me.
Either one of you. Yeah, sure.
yeah, I'll give a quick answer, and then Lama, I'll turn it over to you. And I know what you're talking about. There's times when I feel like I do embody that energy, and there's times when I feel like I don't. And I look at other people and I'm like, wow, I just love that lightness about them. And, where is that within me? And that's when I notice that I've got to maybe do some meditation, just quiet the mind and shift my focus, or I'll do some EFT and tapping to just process some of the emotion that might be going inside of me. One thing I'll say that helps to snap out of it and get to a better feeling place is whatever the issue is that has my energy low or negative, is to ask myself, what is the positive lesson that's available for me to learn here? And when I can get what is that positive lesson, that I get to rise above that energy and then just see things from a clearer vantage point.
Look at that. You talked about energy and Andrea popped back
Look
in. Woo!
at that.
Love it,
Amazing.
Andrea.
We just manifested her, didn't we?
Look
Look at it's so amazing.
power that
Yes,
Nikki has. It's incredible.
How
this is
about
how
that?
energy works.
I felt the energy
Ta-da!
and I came.
That's great.
Well, I
love
totally
it.
agree with you, Nikki, because it's so important to recognize that some energies actually contribute to greater quality of life, and some energies may actually be creating more friction or creating more conflict in our lives. So it's important to recognize that we have different energies that we resonate with. Not everything is good or bad. No, what's good for one person may not be so good for another person, and vice versa. So let's not put a label, this is good energy, this is bad energy. Instead, we realize that we need to develop authentic energy awareness. That's something that nobody teaches anyone at schools or universities for that matter. So people like you and me have to go out and actually offer these teachings or practices. So what are the practices that would allow us to develop energy awareness? Well, my favorite one, or one of my favorite ones, is to pay attention to my own breath. How do I experience the change in my breathing pattern if I encounter something or someone that I don't resonate with? Let's say you have maybe a collection of music. Some pieces of music you may love and could listen to them for hours. And there are probably some pieces of music that creep into your collection that you don't really resonate with, or maybe they just really make you cringe. Well, making you cringe is exactly the experience in your body that tells you that you don't resonate with something. It doesn't matter whether it's music or a person or food. You know, if you try to consume some food and it's like giving you creeps, or basically it's like constricting your throat and making your breathing shallow and more stressed. That's a pretty clear indication that consuming this food is not going to be beneficial for your organism. Your
Well,
organism is already
Lama,
recognizing that there is some dissonance. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I wanna keep the conversation flowing and include everybody in it.
Yeah.
Because Andrea just got here and we kind of laughed a little bit, but I know she had camera issues. Here's the thing, Andrea, even Lama just talked about connecting with another person, and you understand that probably better than everybody that I've known because of what you do in a regular basis, right? Uh, Talk to us about how important is the understanding energy for another person when we do these things.
Well, I was listening to both Nikki and Lama, and I was thinking in my career, which spans back 35 years of, helping people with dating, and starting It's Just Lunch and 33,000 dates. And I really do snippets of both of what both of you do, not to the degree that you do it, but the connection and the energy, it's got to be good. It's got to be positive energy. And otherwise, for what I do, which is helping people connect, and especially, when I was back in the 90s before Google and, online dating and everything, I helped people through It's Just Lunch, a matchmaking service. And we had 110 locations worldwide, sold out to private equity. Then started this 33,000 dates, which is helping people like in that 45 to 65-year-old age group connect, because they need the good energy. And you know what, they need energy, and they need a little bit of technology too, because they need help. But it's a little bit about what Nikki was talking about, the self-sabotage, and there's a lot of that going on. It's almost like this, women and men, especially women, once they hit 45 or 50, they feel almost like they're invisible, right? So all of a sudden their self-esteem plummets, and their self-worth. And these are, successful people in their careers, successful people who have, raised children, and children are away at college, and suddenly they're divorced and they find themselves, trying to date again and really not knowing what to do. And then they tend to, hop on one of the dating apps. And by the way, there's 1,400 of them. So, good luck picking the right one. And they go on there and they see, thousands of people. It scares them. And what do? They quit, right there, self-sabotage. And they go back to complaining.
Yeah, thank you for that. When we consider, and that's why I love this show. It's very conversational, so we kind of keep it to short snippets for all of us, so that we can all kind of share some ideas and concepts. And one of the questions that came up when you were talking about the dating range that you were doing, from 40 to 65. And I've heard so many people not want to come out back into the dating world because they think they're too old.
Yes, that's a common problem. They think they're too old, and the other issue is, we're not living in the 1950s like our grandparents were. Where maybe that did seem old back then. Now it's not old at all. But here's part of the stigma. Besides being feeling like that they're too old, it's fear of losing their privacy, and privacy meaning photos online, etc. But here's the thing: we already lost our privacy. We lost our privacy,
Yes.
the minute we jumped on Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook or TikTok or whatever. But we've gained so much. I feel, and a lot of people will disagree with me, but I feel by giving up some of that privacy, we've gained access to so many more people. In both, the range we live in, a 30-mile range, and the world through online dating.
Yeah, thank you for that. Nikki, I know Nikki's got like 5,000 questions for you guys. We're going to try to keep this more in the concept of business, because dating is business. What Lama does is he teaches people how to connect in a different level, both spiritually and mentally as well. And so do I, and so does Nikki. Nikki, I'm sure you have 1,000 questions, so go ahead and start shooting some out. If everybody can just keep it kind of like 2-3 minutes, and then that way we can keep it flowing. I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to form a question around the title of this show, which is Unlocking Inner Energy and Second Act. So the question I have for everybody is, is there a type of energy that is required in order for you to get to that second act? It's a second act of love, second act of business, because we tend to make pivots in life. We don't just have one act. I know that I'm on my third act at the moment. So is there a specific type of energy that you see that is required or almost like a prerequisite to making that transition into your second act?
Is this for anyone? I'll take that
Yes.
question. Absolutely. My new book that just came out, that's a bestseller, just came out in January, Second Acts, Winning Strategies for Dating. Yes, it does require, a certain level of energy, and no, it can't be the negative type of energy. It's got to be positive energy, and that's very important. You mentioned you're in your third act. I use second act simply for those people in the 45 and 45, 50-year-old. And I was using it more in a business sense, because that's a lot of the time when we make decisions that what we did in our 20s and 30s. We've had successful careers. We've done what we've wanted to do. We've acquired. And now we're at the point where we're thinking, more, okay, what else is out there in my life that I really, really want to accomplish? So that's when we jump into second acts. The first act is we're kind of forced into it because we need income, we need to work, we need these things. Second acts are generally, choices that we've made.
Love it. Love it.
Yes.
Lama, what are your thoughts on what Nikki asked?
Well, it's a lovely question. I'm not sure if I really understand what the second act is supposed to mean, because each and every step I take on earth is another act. So maybe mine is like 250th act or more. And the idea is that the whole idea of act, I think, is flawed, because it seems like there is an expectation that this act is going to work out for me. And my first one didn't work out. Well, by golly, I'm going to make my second one work. Oh shit, the second one didn't work. Okay, well, the third one, that one is really going to work. The third time's the charm. Oh, I call it bullshit. Just throw this idea out of the window and live your life like there is no one act that's going to actually work out, because it never does. And you simply live your life accepting that each and every step you take on earth is a unique experience. Every day that you get to live your life fully is an opportunity to experience your life with a full spectrum. And what we do is we learn how to develop this attitude of immersion, where we don't just think, okay, this act is going to work. I'm here at the beginning of the act, and there's some expectation of what the act is going to work out. If it works out this way, great. If it doesn't work out, well, I'm going to abandon it and I'm going to switch to some other act. This is a really dysfunctional way to operate as humans. And what we need to learn is how to actually start living our lives in the flow, when there is no one particular direction that is the right direction once and for all. It's just the direction that works for me at this particular moment, and it's going to change. Everything is subject to change. If I don't change, I am stagnating or I'm stuck in a particular perspective. And so that creates a totally different approach, where no act is really the second or third or fourth. It's, I'm going to live my life as fully as I humanly can today, and I'm going to make this day potentially the best day of my life. If this happened to be the last day of my life, this is going to be a grand finale. And if it does not turn into my last day on earth, great, let's celebrate that. And let's live the next day more profoundly connected to the essence of who I am, more abundant, more vital. That basically is my philosophy of life. I don't want to live my life like, okay, I'm living my second act, and if it doesn't turn out, oh crap, I have to abandon ship.
Mm-hmm.
That would be really a disadvantageous way to live my life, I would say.
I appreciate that answer, and I got to tell you, it's this is why I love what I do, is because we all have different opinions. We all interact differently, but in the scheme of the world, of our lives, we have to interact in the same world, even though we live in our own bubbles of worlds. Right? I live in mine, and all of you do as well. But it's kind of cool how we can all intermingle, or we can all interact together. And when you say you've had your 250 acts or so forth, I think that was more of a contextual expression of what we think of. Like, I failed at love here, and I'm going to try again so I can have love. Because if you've ever dated, and you dated the one single person since you ever started dating from 9th grade, and you lived, you're 88 years old and you're still in love with them, God bless you, right? I've never had that luck. I am divorced. I've had so many different acts of love, but that doesn't mean I'm not loved. Just the wrong people were not loving me, right? So when you find the right person that loves you, then that's where our second act comes in. Because look at all the celebrities who've gotten married, I don't know, 4 times, 3 times, 8 times. And until they finally settle to that one person and they realize that our energies, if we're talking energies, they align. And the reason I think people don't last in a relationship is because their energies are conflicting, right? So that's my take on your question and what Lama said. And I love what you said, because even in love, yes, there are countless acts, but the real act, my second real act, is when I found that true connection, that energy that blends with my energy. And guess what? Sometimes we think we do, and then it blows up on you.
My point exactly. So just throw out of the window the whole idea of this is going to last, and just enjoy the moment for as long as it lasts,
Right.
and don't dwell.
And
Don't develop
just
attachments. Just let it go.
interject with a quick comment. Like Lama, everything you said, I think is absolutely lovely. Except, we're Americans, and we were not brought up this way. We were brought up to be very goal oriented. And, like I think you said earlier, maybe you said this off camera, that we're not taught this in school, and we're not taught this in college about every day the gratitude. It's just not how we've been conditioned. It's been goal, 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 goal. And so whether you call it a second act or a 250th act, I think it'd be lovely to live in gratitude every single day. But I just don't think it's realistic. Or maybe with your coaching, it's absolutely realistic. And I just don't know it yet.
It is absolutely realistic. Look, what is realistic? What's realistic is to make decisions that make the quality of life better. And then you check, is it really working? If it's working, great. Let's do more of that. If it's not working, well, let's discard that because apparently it's not a workable solution. So let's find a better solution. And what we're looking for is essentially exactly that, finding that which you resonate with, which is going to be an authentic resonance that is different from the second person, the person next to you, your neighbor or your parents or whoever. That is going to be the optimal solution for you, but don't put a label on it. This is good, this is right, because it's going to change. You are going to change. Everyone who comes to this show wants to change. Well, let's make sure that we continue changing. And that essentially is what we want to learn, how to be in the flow of changes. When we are in the flow of changes, we are in the flow of things, in the Tao, if you will. If you are not in the flow of changes, you are struggling and suffering. So that basically is an invitation to learn a few things and grow from there. Like Nikki said, I'm going to learn whatever I can from my experiences.
I like what you just said about labels. And I talk to my clients a lot about that. Don't put people in a box. Don't have labels. That's a very good comment. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, love that. Love that.
Yeah, that's good.
When we put people in labels, or here's the thing, right? The government labels us. They ID us, right? You have a license, you have a passport, whatever government you're in, because Lama was not American, right?
Well, I have a U.S. citizenship now.
No. But I'm saying you're not born in America. I was not born in America. I'm Colombian, right? And so the value systems that we have may be somewhat a little bit different. But I got to this country at 8 years old. So would I be able to say I'm truly Colombian? I think I'm more American than Colombian because I've lived almost my whole life in America. So my ideology is mostly American. Would I fight for Colombia? No, I would fight for America because I feel a connection to the people in this country. If would I fight for my family in Colombia? Of course I would. But so there's a difference of where we put our flag, if you will. My flag is in this country because it has served me well. I've made great connections. Look, I am able to bring all of you together today. And thank you for being here. And your different opinions, that's what makes the world so beautiful.
Yes.
That's what makes us superstars. Because, and you all know this, in dating, it's opposite to attract. And then it's also opposite to attack in a relationship.
Yeah.
So think about that. Nikki, when you and I connected, we basically met at an event, and it was so simple, and it was easygoing, and we just kind of like, we didn't even think that we would ever work together, but we've done so much together. So I'm grateful for our connection.
We have. Actually, when Jose introduced us, it was with the intent of me being a guest on one of your podcasts, which I was. And then they were like, I need another co-host. So it evolved into something that we weren't expecting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys allow me, let me share something I'm doing currently. Take a peek. Hi, I'm Sifu Rafael. What if I told you 90 days is all it takes to detox your body, clear your mind, and completely reset your life? Sifu's Mind-Body Method is a complete system that blends movement, mindset, journaling, nutrition, hydration, and fasting into one powerful experience. This is your invitation to get stronger, clearer, and more in control from the inside out. Click the link and join Sifu's Mind-Body Method today. Don't miss your chance to reset your life. Ta-da! Lama stepped out, so I took him off camera for a minute. When we consider our lives, Nikki, you're such an exceptional human being. Would you mind tapping into what it means that you do in connecting with somebody? Because you I don't want to say it for you, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to, well, the thing that's coming up to me is not labeling people. And that reminds me of not making any kinds of assumptions, because people use labels or words to describe their problem, for example, when they come to me. And I ask lots of questions to find out, what does that actually mean to them? Right, because if somebody comes to me, let's say, and they're like, I don't have the confidence to put my artwork out there, and this is a real life example of somebody that came to me, I can't just go ahead and assume that that's the real issue, right? I've got to ask the deeper questions to get, what is the real issue? And that's how we can uncover a common one, which is a worthiness issue. And when we work with that, help them to up-level their self-image and how they see themselves, and to know that they're that they're worthy and that they deserve, then the confidence it's already inside. It just starts to, they start to exude it on the outside. So, and that's back to energy.
I love that. I'm looking at the second acts of love, and I do love that idea, because, and this was towards you, Andrea, because you probably have come across, I mean, listen, you've been doing this forever now. You've come across so many people who can't find love because they're not loving the correct person, and the number one person is themselves. Tell us how you've helped people understand that before you find true love, you have to love yourself.
Yes, that is crucial. And that is something that I work with people on a very individualized basis, because there's not like one solution that fits all for everybody on that one. And, you know, not loving yourself, you are absolutely not ready for a relationship. So what does that mean? to some degree, you know, I'm not a psychologist, you know, I'm a dating expert. So, you know, sometimes that means therapy. That means, you know, working on yourself, and that may be where they need to go first. Now, another direction sometimes I send people in is practice, because how do we gain self-confidence? I mean, let's think about your golf game. How do you gain self-confidence in golf? Well, you start with lessons, you get out there and play, you get better and better and better, right? So if you're just, you know, sitting at home and complaining, or, you know, worried about dating, and you're doing none of it, that's why if I feel somebody is ready, meaning they don't need therapy, but they can do what I do, and, you know, help them get out there and hopefully find the one that they're looking for. I tell them, you know, in the first 2 weeks, you are going on 4 practice dates. And these men or women that we're picking for you, they're probably not going to be the love of your life, but your confidence level is just going to explode as you go through these dates and realize, wow, you know, hey, I've still got it. You know, I can still talk. I've still got charm. You know, so what if I had a horrible marriage, or a bad custody battle, or this happened, or that happened, or I lost my job, whatever. You know, practice helps a lot with self-esteem too. So, you know, there's several, there's no one answer for that question, Sifu.
Oh yeah. I can only imagine people who are not on the dating game, and then all of a sudden they're on a date across from somebody, and they're thinking about the next question, and they pull it out. Look.
Oh God.
Yeah. So tell me about your mom. You know, it reminds me of the awkwardness of dating, because if there's no alignment, no energy happening in anything, even in business, right? It doesn't help you pull out a sheet that's going to give you the answers, because that's not really what it is. I think when we go into a situation, and even we're trying to connect with another person, not even on a dating application, but more of I want to get to know you platonically, right? It 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 has to be with do we align? Can I ask you a question, and would you be honest with that answer? Right. I think that dating, if we can start making dating more fun, which I know you do, right? It should be fun. It shouldn't be like, oh my God, I'm going to pull out my hair. And when I first showed my picture, I had full hair, and now I have half a head of hair because I pulled it all out. I was so nervous. Should we be nervous
Yeah, you
going
know
on a
what?
date?
We should be nervous. And most people, I always say, if you're about 90% nervous, apprehensive, you know, have angst, but there's like that 10% part that's like excited too, you're ready to start dating. You're ready to get out there. And then, you know, all a first date is really information gathering and thinking about, do I want to go on a second date with this person? That's it. Not do I want to marry him, have children with him, anything like that. And watch your questions. I mean, you know, I read online sometimes, you know, questions people ask on first dates, like, so what's your 5-year plan? Like, what? Are you an executive recruiter? You know, for my business life? Like, what? You know, what is that all about? So, you know, you've got to keep it fun and just think, all this is, do I want to go on a second date? And, you know, what did I learn from this date? And you're going to learn more and more. Maybe maybe not what you want, but maybe what you don't want, which is just as important, right?
Yeah, that clarity.
No, it's not important at all.
No, here's
No, I don't agree. It's not important to
Lama,
focus on
let
what
me
it is
just
that you
ask you a
don't
question.
resonate
Let
with.
me ask you a question,
Yeah.
right? With everything you've been doing, because you're having a resilience summit in a couple of days, right? The 25th through the 27th, right? And what is your take on this whole conversation? How resilient should we be? And this can go for everybody here. How resilient should we be even in the dating world? Because so many people pursue business and they don't have a relationship. And so they don't have that resilience to be able to be in a relationship. They don't have that shell, if you will.
Yeah, if you don't have a shell, then you need to grow thick skin. So basically, it's the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And what you develop is the sense of how you are in the world. And then wherever you go, there you are. Whether you are talking to a person of the opposite sex, assuming you're straight, or you're doing business communications, or you're doing a marketing campaign, you're going to do it in a particular way that is a reflection of who you think you are. But to tell you the truth, none of us is who we think we are. What we think we are is just the tip of the iceberg as compared to who we really are. And so, what we really need to develop is a greater awareness of the deeper part of the iceberg that we are. That's where most of our resources reside. That's where we can find our true potential. The potential, by definition, is not at the tip of the iceberg because that's what has already been manifested. The potential, by definition, is in that unknown aspect of myself that I don't know much about. I have some clues, I have some gut feelings about, yeah, maybe I could do this, maybe I have this, but how do I know? Well, there's only one way to find out, to dig in, to dive deeper into that part of myself that previously was beneath the surface of consciousness. So that's why I do not agree with the idea that, look, we just need to try and see what's going to stick, throw shit at the wall, and maybe something is going to stick. No, I don't approach anything like that way. I don't date people at all. Yeah, I've had many relationships. I have a tantric master. And my name, Tantrapa, means I'm a tantric teacher. But I don't date. Why don't I date? Because I don't have time for it. I don't have desire to go out and look for someone. I believe that what I deserve manifests in my life. I don't need to look for someone outside of myself. I need to connect with a deeper aspect of myself that is that person who I truly trust and deserve to know.
Can I ask you a question? Are you married? Are you married?
I was married 3 times.
So you did date.
Divorced 3 times. Yes.
Okay, but you don't date anymore, is what you're saying.
I have relationships. I don't go out and date people because I don't have anything else to do. I'm a busy guy, so I don't have time to just go out and date. I have long-term relationships, one person at a time, and they last as long as they do, and then they transform, and I have wonderful relationships with my exes, and I move on to the new level of my life. Basically, there's no conflict, there is no friction, it's just growth. And if I outgrow my previous relationships, no problem. It's just a natural progression of things. But it actually removes completely the sense of stress and anxiety. So I don't have 90% anxiety. I have maybe 5% anxiety. When I move with another person, I have no anxiety. I'm curious. I don't have trepidations. What is it? Is she the right one for me? No.
I love this
I'm
conversation. I got to ask Andrea, what are your thoughts on what Lama, because it, when he said he doesn't date, you were like, what? So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on what Lama said. And listen, here's the theory, right? A lot of people will say, I don't have time for dating. I don't have time for relationships because I'm doing my life, I'm doing my thing. And that's very common in a lot of people, especially when they're pursuing a career, a goal, a mission. But what happens when you're later on in your life and you're not pursuing anything else? Are you alone? So I'd love for you to tap into that, Andrea, as your
Sure.
relationship expert.
Yeah, Lama, I had a couple of thoughts when I was listening to you. And, what the first one was when you talked about thick skin. And I thought, geez, if I could sell people thick skin, I'd be a billionaire, because
I
it
do it
makes
exactly that.
in
Resilience Summit.
Yeah, in business, I have a thick skin. In personal life, it can be so much harder. You're teaching resilience, and that's to some degree about how to deal with rejection too. And then I'm thinking about, okay, you've also been married 3 times. You've had a lot of practice dating. So you're 5%. Angst or worry about dating, it's probably closer to zero. I mean, you've had so much practice with the whole thing. And then the last thing I think about, I think about the person just manifesting. I'm sorry, that part I just can't buy into, because if I have a 55-year-old client who's widowed and kind of bummed out, and they're sitting at home and they're just seeing their kids, manifesting, it's not knocking on your door. The only person that I ever know that somebody knocked on their door was a client in New York who, she had a fire, and it was a fireman, and she ended up married to this guy. That's the only time, and I don't think she was manifesting this fire at all. And then the last thing I was thinking about, I followed these longevity studies, and I'm into blue zones, and there's this ongoing University of Michigan study that says, okay, yeah, excuse me, eat the Mediterranean diet, do that 10K, with your Apple Watch each day with steps, blah, 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 blah. But really, what's the key to longevity and a happy life? And Mom, I think you got it. It doesn't matter if you're married or in relationships, but it's a happy romantic relationship of somebody that you're close to and love. Of course, you need that other community around you too, friends, maybe family, maybe your own made up family. That doesn't really matter. But all the longevity studies that I'm seeing, it's really about that closeness with another person. So I have a lot of thoughts on what you said, and I'm so happy I remembered some of them.
I got to tell you, what a great show, guys. Thank you for being here. It has come to that time. What I like to do now is give you 30 to 45 seconds. Tell us what people can expect when they come to your site and so forth. And then if you're going a little bit longer and you hear music, because I'm cutting you out, right? Because we already finished the show, but we're taking a little bit extra because we want people to connect with you. Andrea, yours is popping across, so why don't you go ahead and go first?
Okay. Well, so people want to get a hold of me. I would say the best thing is go to my site, 33,000dates.com, and it's 33000dates.com. And the first thing I would do, take the dating quiz, because it's going to show you, and you'll get a percentage rating back. And it's going to show you how you stack up to other people in your age group that are dating, and maybe some things you need to work on. And then the second thing I would say is, you want to date, buy my book. It's a lot cheaper than hiring me. And it's Second Acts, Winning Strategies for Dating, and it's available everywhere. You can buy books. Amazon has the best prices, if you ask me. So
thank you for that. Appreciate it. And everybody does have to go get your book. I appreciate that. Lama, you're up, my friend.
Well, thank you. I do teach and practice resilience. I'm a former commando. I'm a Tibetan Lama. I'm a Qigong master. and creator of resiliencesummit.org. The official name is the World Resilience Summit because we're bringing people from all over the world sharing their expertise in how to become more resilient. As I said, develop thicker skin. That's what we learn. That's what we practice. We develop the ability to withstand challenges, to overcome problems, and not get bogged down by the pitfalls that we fall into. We just brush it off and stand up and keep going. What happens when it comes to when you come to our website is you'll be able to enjoy the World Resilience Summit that's coming up on April 25th, 26th, and 27th. I'm the author of several books. One of them I'm going to give you as a gift called Manifesting the Life of Your Dreams. Manifesting is my expertise, one of the areas of my expertise. There's going to be also many other amazing bonuses offered by 25 experts in the resilience who are presenting at our summit that you're welcome to join in and enjoy for free. And of course, if you want to join us as a VIP, there will be an opportunity to upgrade, and you will get access to all the recordings and $2,000 worth of bonuses.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Nikki, my friend, young lady, you are up.
Thank you, Sifu. Well, you can get in touch with me by going to my website, nikkigangemi.com. I have an array of resources there for you, from free to paid. You can start with my Calm Method Guide, which is completely complimentary, and it shows you 4 steps, CALM, to go from chaos in your mind to clarity and confidence to take action towards your goals. And the book is also available on Amazon.
I love it. Thank you, Nikki, and definitely go check her out. I'm Sifu Rafael. What can I say? My name is pretty easy. It's sifurafael.com, and I do have a program happening, and I showed you a little commercial about it. It's a Sifu's Mind Body Method, which is a 90-day detox for your brain and your gut. And I don't like to say it like that, so I rather say mind and body, which sounds cleaner, sounds better, because guess what? If you want to date, you should be clean up here, right? And
in your gut.
And in your gut, right? So
Yes.
do me a favor, everybody. Like the show, share the show, tell people about it. What an incredible conversation we had. I love how it went around all over the place, but it came back to one thing. Mind your business, because your business is the most important, and so that you can share your love with everybody in the world. Do me a favor, everybody. Hang around for a couple of minutes, and we're going to say goodbye to everybody here. Everybody have a great day. See you next time. Take care.